Hello everybody and welcome back. Good to talk to all of you again today, and today we are going to have a little sneak peek at the Kronstadt based on some datamined data. So Kronstadt is supposed to be a tier 9 Russian cruiser. Now historically she was more of a battle cruiser for sure, but we don't really have that particular category, although I really think that we should, because calling this thing a cruiser just is a little bit strange, to say the least. So, let's take a look at how she is statistically, and I'll let you know what I think. And she is a bit of an interesting ship, to say the very least. I know, I used the word interesting a little bit too much, I think. She's a bit of a curious mixture of things, right? Okay. Let's take a look at her. So here's Kronstadt, tier 9. 82,300 hit points is a lot of HP for a cruiser. That's more than the Iowa. She's got a ton of HP, but she does have her flaws, and her flaws mostly lie with her protection. So that 82,300 HP isn't going to go as far as the Iowas, right? Because, let's take a look at our armor profile, and the first thing you'll notice is this. 25 millimeters of armor covering the bow, the sort of the middle section of the ship, and the stern as well. And this means that she is going to be overmatched by every battleship at tier 8, 9, 10. Hell, she even gets overmatched by some of the battleships down at tier 7. So that will be an issue, because if a battleship sees you and they fire at you, they're going to overmatch and they're going to do quite a bit of penetration damage. So that huge HP pool is going to be necessary. But she does have tricks up her sleeves, which I'll get to in a minute. In terms of the Kronstadt's Citadel protection, it's okay, I would say. 230 millimeter main armor belt, and as you can tell, extends above the waterline a good amount, underneath the waterline a good amount, and behind that, let me take that away, behind that you have the 90 millimeters right there, and it's spaced away from the main armor belt as well, and that is mostly underwater. So Citadel, I think, it's okay. I mean, its protection seems to be alright. But again, like I said, most of the ship's damage is going to be coming in from getting penetrated by battleship guns. She also does have that 330 millimeter forward bulkhead piece as well. So Citadel's maybe not the big issue for the Kronstadt, but penetrations from being overmatched, I think, will be. So you can kind of see why that large HP pool is needed, but at the same time, I think it's, one can look at it and say, okay, yeah, this ship is going to be taking quite a bit of damage, right, from battleships. And she's a big ship, so evading fire isn't going to be as easy as if you're playing smaller cruisers. Her maximum firing range, 18.19 kilometers, is not too bad, because, again, she is a tier 9 ship, which means that you are going to be able to throw in this particular modernization, which is going to increase the range of your main guns. So that's okay. That's not too shabby. You can definitely deal with that particular range. She does have 9 305 millimeter guns in 3 triple turrets, and let's take a look at the guns in a little bit more detail as well. Her guns reload very quickly, 20-second reload times, so in a span of a minute you can get off 3 salvos. Sigma value 1.8. So her Sigma is, well, pretty much standard battleship, and my guess is her dispersion is going to be much more battleship-like than cruiser-like. So she, again, like I said, she's a bit of a ship with a sort of a strange bag of things, right? Taking a look at her armor-piercing shells, and this is one of the first sort of really interesting things, 9,000 alpha damage. So if she does hit you and she does get penetrations, it is going to hurt. Looking at the Kronstadt's projectile speed, 900 meters per second velocity. That combined with 0.2298 air drag and a 471 projectile mass means that these shells are going to be quite railgun-like. They're going to be relatively flat arcs, they're going to get downrange in a real hurry, and when they get there, the penetration is going to be quite sufficient. So Kronstadt, I think, is going to be able to get pretty darn good penetration damage against battleships, assuming you have a broadside. They're going to be able to, in certain occasions, I think, definitely going to be able to score citadels. If you take a look at projectile Krupp, 2400, that's incredibly standard, so her penetration is going to be fine. And, well, maybe even better than fine, because again, high projectile speed, low air drag, so penetration downrange. Very, very good. Now, normally when you have a situation like that, so let's say aka the Roma, you'll notice that you get a lot of overpens on cruisers, because cruiser armor just isn't thick enough, for example, before your shells just go boom, right through the ship. You don't get that problem with the Kronstadt. Kronstadt has two very interesting numbers here: detonator threshold and projectile detonator time. Detonator threshold, 51. So as soon as it passes through 51 millimeters of armor, it'll arm. And then the detonator is how much time after that does it actually go boom. And 0.01 is really, really quick. Standard battleship is 0.033, so there's quite a bit of a delay there. But 0.01 means that this shell is going to get armed, going through, let's say, cruisers with, let's say, really thin belt armor. It'll, arm, and then boom. The AP on the Kronstadt is going to be a real concern for cruiser players, right? And she is going to fulfill that battle cruiser role quite well. I did forget to mention one other thing. The reason why earlier I said I kind of wish that they had a battle cruiser category is mostly because of this. The Kronstadt's abilities as, I think, a cruiser killer, her relative bulk compared to other cruisers, I think is going to create problems in matchmaking, because it's kind of like the Musashi a little bit. Musashi occupies a tier 9 slot, when in actuality, with the lack of CVs, she really has tier 10 power. And with her bulk, her armor, her guns, Musashi poses a real problem against other tier 9 battleships who run up against her. Kronstadt's going to pose a similar problem, right? Because she's going to occupy the slot of a tier 9 cruiser. And her job, her role, everything about her is meant to be very anti-cruiser, right? But imagine if the other team doesn't get an equivalent Kronstadt and they only have the standard tier 9 cruisers. Just don't see how that's going to work out for those cruisers. I think they're going to get really, really messed up. This is a conversation that I actually had with someone on my Discord by the name of FTHP, and he suggested, and it was like, this is very much a Musashi problem. And I thought about it, I was like, yeah, he's right. The Kronstadt's going to pose this new problem in terms of, how teams get balanced, match made, because this ship really is going to swing that power balance in a cruiser on cruiser engagement, because this thing is classified as a cruiser. I wonder what's going to happen with Stalingrad when she gets here too. Anyways, her HE is very lackluster, however. Alpha damage is on the low side. Burn probability of 24%. Right? I mean, yeah, they're fast shells and everything, but the fire chance is really low. I don't really think HE is going to be this ammunition type that she's firing, especially when her AP is just that good. I think AP is going to be like her primary type of shells. Her sector of fire, in terms of how well angled she's able to stay while bringing all of her guns into action, she's able to get all 3 of her guns out 25 degrees to the front. Now 30 degrees, you get auto bounce. 25 degrees. She's going to be able to stay pretty well angled while getting her firepower onto target. So that is... and her rear arcs are pretty much equally as good as well. So yeah, this is a ship with fantastic gun arcs. And really, I don't have any complaints about her guns. Her guns are going to be very, very good. And I would say cruisers, watch out. Oh, did I also mention that she is fast? She goes 33.9 7.5 knots, fast ship, and her surface concealment without anything is 14.76. Fully spec'd out for concealment, so concealment expert, camo, the concealment module, you can knock this number down to 11.3. So for those of you who've been encountering Romas or Giulio Cesares, you know what Italian ship concealment does when you're playing a cruiser. It really has a tendency of sometimes scaring you because they just kind of appear. Kronstadt, her detectability is right in between those two ships. Yeah. Cruisers, beware is what I think I will say. She has some secondaries, but really I am not seeing the ship as the get into kind of secondary range. I don't think that's going to be her place of play. So secondary armament, yeah, it's there. No, I don't really think you're going to be using it. Her air defense, however, is something that I think will play a bit of a role. But, you know, and her air defense isn't super great. You know, you've got these sort of 30 DPS, 100mm AA guns that go up to 5 kilometers. You've got 85 DPS in the 37mm guns. Her A isn't, like, super strong. So, yeah, you know, you could be vulnerable to air attack, although we do have a distinct lack of carriers these days, so maybe not a huge problem. So, yeah, think about what she is. She is, yeah, a bit of a mixed bag, right? Like, she is a large ship with not the world's best armor, but quite amazing concealment and firepower that is scary, really scary if you're playing a cruiser, and even a battleship should be aware of the ship. All the while she's taking up a tier 9 cruiser slot. Yikes, that is going to be a ship to be wary of, to say the least. And at that speed, she can also get on your flanks, eh? So think about that. In terms of consumables, the Kronstadt is interesting, right? She has a hydro, right? Not amazing hydro, but she has a hydro. Yeah, with reasonable spotting distances. She's got defensive AA, which, well, will disrupt airstrikes, so her weak AA can be mitigated, shall we say. She has spotting aircraft, right, which will increase her range and allow you to shoot things in smoke. Again, see, watch out, Minotaurs, really, because this ship isn't going to give you that time to react, right? You get spotted by a normal battleship as a Minotaur, you might even have some time. With Kronstadt, those shells will get to you in a real hurry, and you might not even have time to react to those incoming shells compared to sometimes with battleships, right? Her repair party, battleship-like, you know, a lot of HP per second. Yeah, remember, she is still a cruiser, after all. But what's really interesting about the Kronstadt is her damage control party. She's got the October Revolution style damage control party. 4 consumables total, 5 with Superintendent. Work time is 15 seconds, so you have 15 seconds worth of immunity. 20-second reload times. So under focused cruiser fire, I don't even think she's going to be all that worried. Yeah, she's going to take damage, but fire is not really going to be a concern, right? But her guns on the return to those cruisers is going to hurt. And especially with that superior concealment, which for such a large ship is a little bit like, what? You know, she is going to be able to sneak up on cruisers and really scare the crap out of them. So, all in all, Kronstadt, like I said earlier, is a very interesting ship with sort of a kind of a mixed bag of strengths and weaknesses, although I think her strengths definitely outweigh her weaknesses. Like, yeah, her armor isn't great, but that can be mitigated by her concealment, right? Her guns are really gonna be a game changer, I think, for cruiser level firepower, because she is classified as a cruiser. Pretty much battleships and other cruisers, watch out. This thing is gonna this thing's gonna have a way of raining on your parade a little bit. All in all, looking forward to the ship, because I think it will kind of shift the cruiser meta that you see right now in the higher tiers. I think cruisers encountering this ship are going to have a lot harder of a time, and I look forward to seeing how that affects the battle. Anyways, what do you all think? Now that you've sort of seeing the initial idea behind the ship. What do you think? Are you excited for a ship like this? Or as a cruiser player, are you screaming internally right now? Let me know in the comment section below. Aside from all that, folks, take care, have yourselves a good one, and I'll talk to all of you again really, really soon.